Welcome to Pitt Spring. This is a public park located just off Highway 20, north of Panama City. It has a pretty small parking lot, so you better get there early during the summer. It fills up quick. The plan is to paddle down Econfina Creek to check out some springs, so I opted to put in next to the bridge. With hot Florida temperatures, it's always nice to cool off in the creek. So here we go under the Highway 20 bridge. It's a very important highway. It stretches east to west, and it's just north of the coastline. Highway 98 gets a little congested with all the traffic, so Highway 20 is a great way to get across the panhandle. It's also full of springs and interesting places to visit. This part of the trip is very easy and fun because you're going with the current down the creek. Going back is going to be a little bit more difficult. As you might have seen on one of my previous videos, Econfina Creek is a fascinating spot in Florida. It's fed by over 30 springs. It's full of karst limestone geology. It also supplies the drinking water for most of Bay County and the Panama City area. The water is collected at the end of the creek in a reservoir called Deer Point Lake. First stop here is Fence Line Spring. As you can see, it's kind of hard to get to. In addition to a fence, there's lots of debris across the spring run. Fence Line Spring's listed as a 3rd magnitude spring. I've never been back in there to see it. The next stop here will be Gilmore Spring Group. This consists of 3 different vents in a spring pool with a little island in the middle. It's listed as a 2nd magnitude spring. During the summertime, this place will be packed with locals. The surrounding property is private, owned by a man that I know that has the ear of the governor, so I recommend you stay off the property and don't trespass. Stay in the water. Here we come to the first spring vent. As you can see, these spring vents here at Gilmore Spring pump out a lot of sand. People swimming by the 2nd spring vent, I decided to move on to the 3rd one. Find a couple small vents in this little cove. There was once a boardwalk up there, but it's seen better days. Nice little boil coming out. The spring that I skipped is actually the biggest of the 3. After a brief tour of Gilmore, I'm going to move on over to Emerald Spring. If I had to say, the springs in this area and Morrison Springs are pretty much my home springs. So here I come upon Emerald Spring. This is listed as a second magnitude spring. As you can see, the water is pumping out of about a 23-foot bluff. There's a local water company called Culligan that I believe got its start from extracting water from this spring. There used to be some pipes, they may still be there somewhere. It's difficult to swim against the current here. Fins aren't a lot of use because it's kind of a tight spot, so you kind of grab onto the rocks and you can force your way in. But you have to be very careful not to get blasted by the water into a tree branch behind you or one of the rocks that jut out. That wouldn't feel very good in the kidney. As you can see, Emerald Spring is made up by a number of small little caves. Some of these you can actually swim into if you're willing to risk it. I'm not risking it without a helmet. You got to keep a watch out for that tree right there. The current will push your back right into it. So after checking out Emerald Spring, I was going to head on down the creek and we're going to look for Bluff Spring. There's another little spring run there. Kind of choked and hard to get into right now. I'll come back. So just a little ways down the creek from Emerald, I find Bluff Spring. Bluff Springs are really shallow springs, mainly just a couple different vents on the side of this bluff here that pump water out. I think every time I come to Emerald Spring, it takes some flesh from me. You can see the fissures in the limestone, and you can see how porous the limestone is and how it carries water so well. Most of my trips have a pretty tight schedule because I'm just trying to squeeze them in on the side. And it's time to head back and pick up my kid from school. So one more little dip at Emerald Spring and up the creek I go. Bye, Emerald Spring. It's been fun. Another quick view of Fenceline Spring in all its glory. With time ticking and school getting out soon, I had to double time the paddle, but there we are back to Highway 20 Bridge, and time to get the kid. I really hate trash, don't you? Time to go.